This is Metal Mike, and in this one I'm joined by my buddy Ryan, and we discuss our top 10 favorite Scorpions albums, man. What talent! What a run of albums, man. We talk through all of it. We have a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy. Check it out.
Well, Ryan, man, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Scorpions. I think this has kind of been a long time coming. You know what I mean? We've talked about a lot of the albums, and this will just be a good way to just put them all out there, rank them, talk about them. What do you think?
Yep, this is one of those bands you can go on and on for because they have so many good ones. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I'm excited to talk about these boys.
I feel like they had, and you'll probably agree, but I won't really say where I think it starts and ends, but I think they had a real solid run at a certain point that kind of started and ended, and then the stuff that's before I don't care for, and the stuff that's after I really don't care for. Do you agree with that? Or?
Oh, totally, dude. I think I have one that might be in the era that I don't really care for towards the more recent times, but it's, you know, it's kind of as good as it gets in that little era. But yeah, other than that, I totally am right there with you.
All right. Let's waste no more time, and let's just jump right in. And what's your number 10?
All right. Well, this one I might be crucified for because I know that this has a lot of cult following and a lot of classic fans love it. But I got Animal Magnetism at number 10. You know, I'm not a huge fan of this album, but it is classic Scorpions, and it was right before more polished 80's sound began. But I can't deny some of the stuff like Falling in Love is a gem, Make It Real, and of course The Zoo. But it almost sounded like they took a little bit of a step back in terms of like production and updated sound after Love Drive, in terms of like the current updated, you know, sound, image, all that stuff. But yeah, I know I'm going to get a little pushback from the classic fans about this one, but you know, it's on the cusp for me of being in that a little too 70s-ish, but some of those gems like Falling in Love and The Zoo really help it for me. So that's my number 10.
Now, do you feel that like Warrant kind of stole the beginning of Falling in Love for Down Boys, or is it just me?
No, dude. Yeah, it's ahead of its time for sure. So yeah, absolutely.
That's why I feel like there are certain moments where I feel like the Scorpions were ahead of their time, and that is actually one where I like when I listen to that song and I'm like, that totally sounds like hair metal stuff. You know what I mean? So a lot of, but you know, obviously very influential, big band, very influential.
Yeah, totally.
All right, my number 10, and this is not to say that it's just not a great album, and it's not a gateway album for a lot of young kids that got into the Scorpions, but I put it at 10 just because I don't go back to live albums all that much anymore. And this is where I'm going to place Worldwide Live. It's not because I think Worldwide Live is bad. I just knew I wanted to include it. I knew it was a big album for me when I was a kid, and that was kind of the way I found out about a lot of the older Scorpion songs. So everything that came before Rock You Like a Hurricane, you know, I got to discover through a Worldwide Live. And, you know, it's got a special place in my heart from like when I was a kid watching those videos on Headbangers Ball. They always played live videos on Headbangers Ball from Worldwide Live. So I just had to shout out to it. It's just not one that I go back to, you know, that much anymore. So that's where I've got it.
Yeah, this album, Worldwide Live, obviously, I think we'll probably be saving our comments most of the time on this entire list. But I will say that it is influential for me, and I have it a lot higher just because of like how it stood out for me.
Nice. Number 9.
All right, number 9, here's where I got one of the newer ones, Sting in the Tail, you know, and I joked about this before being kind of a farewell album, coinciding tour. That didn't really work out.
Nope.
But it's definitely a statement album, you know, like they're very much back, and you got the real hard rock guitars and the hooky choruses. You got songs like No Limit, Turn You On, Raised on Rock, Slave Me, you know, these really cool riffs that haven't been churned up for years. So I really like this. It reminds me of A Harder Crazy World, and you got James Kojak on there, and he fits really well. And, you know, as far as their post-93 stuff, I think this is very true to form for them. So I did add it. I gave it the nod.
It's funny. This is also where I put Sting in the Tail, number 9. And I have already pretty much all this. I think Slave Me is my favorite song on the album. But so I've got that listed. But the ones that you've listed, I have those listed too. One song that I really like, and I believe it's the last song on the album, is The Best Is Yet to Come. I feel like that's like it sounds like an Irish drinking song or something. Hey la, hey lo, like people slosh at the bar in Ireland, 1 a.m. or something, singing this song. But I think that's really cool. And I also feel like that's like if it were to be their last album, it was kind of a cool send-off, you know what I mean? But
totally.
But like most bands, it never ends, and Scorpions have done some albums since this album. So, but yeah, it is cool. You're right. It is in line with Crazy World in a lot of ways. And what was before this? Was it Humanity Volume?
Yes.
1? Yeah, that one I don't understand. That album will not make my list. I don't understand it. I know a lot of people like it, but that one does not work for me. But this feels like Scorpions, so I'm down with it.
I was listening to Mitch LaFon like a year ago, and he was talking about the Humanity album, and he straight up said it was his favorite Scorpions album of all time. And I'm like, what? Like, I better take a listen to this.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but geez, that's some high praise.
Nah, I'll give him credit. Like, he just says whatever comes to his mind, and I can be like that too sometimes. Sometimes there's just albums that I really like that nobody gets, or bands that nobody gets. Yeah. Or like Generation Swine. I'm always praising Generation Swine. I'm in the complete minority with that album, but some albums just it was the time you heard it. Something about it registers with you, and then I think the more pushback you get, the more you like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to prove you're right, so you stick with it. But
yeah, seriously. Number 8. Your favorite album, Pure Instinct, and Laugh It Up. I don't mind.
Hate it.
I know. I honestly, after going back, I don't mind this album one bit. And here we are standing up to these albums,
Yeah.
So you got 1996. It's not exactly the best time for the Scorpions, but I love Wild Child. I know it's the hit, and I know it's the most true to form Scorps song on the album, but I love that song. I remember it being on the radio nonstop. But the feel of this album is similar to like a later in the career 90s Bon Jovi effort in that it's a little bit lighter, but it still has the choruses and like the youthful vocals. It is some like definite experimentation, but it has grown on me. Songs like But the Best for You is another good song. It's almost like a Spanish guitars at time. There is that little like reggae riff in there, which I was kind of thinking, oh Jesus, like I think that's Is There Anybody There? But anyway, it I don't know, it's different, but I like it. And actually, when I was going back over the list, I thought I'm giving Pure Instinct another shot because I think I'm gonna discover some stuff on it, and I did. So I'm a little bit stoked on this album again.
I'm going to have to go back and check it out. And what's weird, I don't think the damn thing is on Spotify.
No, it's not. And that was like on one of our heavy metal wish list podcasts. That was one of the things I mentioned. It was like Teal and MSG, which now is on Spotify.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of other fill-in albums from you name it band, which they conveniently left off. This is not on there. So either there's a reason or there's a label dispute, but we'll see. Give it a shot.
Well, I don't need Spotify because I know I got the damn CD somewhere in my cellar. I just got to find it.
Yeah.
And
as do I. It's just so much easier with Spotify.
Wild Child, I just thought that was so cliche. I remember never liking it because I just everybody's got Wasp as Wild Child. I just like Wild Child was so cliche. And I just thought it was kind of a cheesy song. I never liked that song. But then I'm not the best, but I'm the best for you. Is that what something like that? Is that what that song? I do kind of remember that one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go back and see. But I just remember not liking it when it came out. I remember.
Yeah, it's like when we also talked about like Restless Heart by Whitesnake. Mm-hmm. They have like lighter songs, but then the choruses they still get to where they used to be in terms of vocal ability and catchy and high and good loud high parts. So that's just like this album where you got to kind of wait for these choruses, and you're like, okay, there's Klaus. He's still got it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And he's still got the youthful voice. So definitely give it a shot. And also, like, I think there's a lot of bands out there that don't really pay attention to other current things or bands. Like, look at AC/DC or even Motley back in the day. Like, Motley, I remember reading an article, and Vince didn't even know that Skid Row had a song called Rattlesnake Shake. And, like, AC/DC doesn't know that there's other bands out there that have identical song titles. I don't think they care. I don't think they even realize it. So this could easily be one of those things.
Yep. All right, number 8. A lot of people eat this album up. They love it. They think it's the best. But I got Crazy World at 8. I'm not a huge Crazy World fan.
That's right, yeah.
People might not agree with this statement, but it doesn't really feel like Scorpions that much to me. I feel like I don't know if it's Americanized in spots or they're trying really hard to like make this commercial album. Like there's spots that are very Scorpion-ish. I mean, Wind of Change is, I mean, I'd be okay if I never heard Wind of Change again as long as I live. But, but it definitely feels like your Scorpion ballad like that. It feels like Scorpions. Hit Between the Eyes is a cool song. That reminds me of a fast Scorpion rocker. And Crazy World is the best song for me on the. I love the song Crazy World. I love the message. I love the heaviness. It's just a great song. But something about this just, I don't know. I think I like Savage Amusement so much. And then we get to this album, and this is where I feel like we have like a drop off of like, the band doesn't sound the same. They're shooting for something that maybe isn't completely them. And it's getting really kind of hokey, like Tease Me, Please Me. That's another one. I always thought of Tease and Pleasing by Dangerous Toys. I don't know. Like some of them, I was just thought. I just think that's a corny ass song. Like it's okay. Don't Believe Her's pretty good. I don't know. Just this album just doesn't work for me, and it's all digital. And I feel like they lost some of their sound even because of that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I could be. This might be. A lot of people might not agree with what I'm saying, but I've never wholly connected with Crazy World.
Yeah, I have it ranked up there a little higher, but it's odd because there are so many people that would pretty much take what you're saying and talk about Savage Amusement and basically like just put that on Savage Amusement, because a lot of the classic fans that decided that they didn't like the pinks and the neons and the lighter image and they wanted it back in leather and whatnot would say that about Savage Amusement, even though I like Savage Amusement a lot. So, I don't know, it's up there for me, but I will agree with you that it's doesn't flow as much as the other albums, and I do think that it's not one of my total favorites.
Yeah, so what you said, I would say that person was listening with their eyes, because to me, when I go back and I listen to Savage Amusement, for the most part, I hear the logical next step after Love at First Sting. I really do. The late 80s, it just sounds like a late 80s Scorpion album. This just sounds like we're trying real hard to like churn out some hits, and some of that oddball creativity that we'll get into as we get to the earlier albums. I feel like that's gone now. It's just gone, and I think that's the charm of the Scorpions. So, all right, there's my rant. Yeah. So I'm done. Okay.
I can prove exactly. That was a fantastic point you made, because I got one guy in mind that I work with that was, I think he's around your age. Mm-hmm. He was completely turned off to the Scorps by the album cover and the image. Mm-hmm. And so he never gave Savage Amusement even a shot after that. He actually just kind of gave up on the Scorps at that point. So you nailed it with the listening with your eyes thing.
Mm. If you say so. What do you got for 7?
Nah, you got it. Okay, I got Love Drive, number 7. Oh, so I got, this is just solid. Most of the songs are hits, or have been featured on the best of somewhere here and there, or they're played live a lot, but the title track just rips. Loving You Sunday Morning. I've always loved that song. I fell in love with it on Worldwide Live.
Yep.
Can't Get Enough. Of course, Holiday. And I actually really like the instrumental Coast to Coast. I'm not usually a huge instrumental guy, but it's killer.
It is good.
But also, have you ever noticed that the main riff sounds just like the A-Team intro song?
Yeah.
You'll have to listen to that and see if I'm completely crazy about that one. But, it's just right after the chorus riff, it has that same little A-Team riff to it, but maybe they stole it. Maybe the A-Team stole it from the Scorpions. But, yeah, so Love Drive, number 7.
No, there is an A-Team ripoff. I think the A-Team ripped off the Scorpions. So, what song is it? It's Love Drive. There's a part of Love Drive that goes...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's it. That's when the main A-Team theme goes to that second part. That's the same riff. You buying that?
I always thought that. Yeah, it's right after the chorus. After I think I put a main riff sounds great. Yeah, right after the chorus. So it's like almost identical.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Mr. T was a big Scorpions fan.
Oh yeah, you could tell.
Oh boy! All right. Is this? Is this one mine? I got to do my stuff. Okay. So I know you are big into this album. I like a lot of this album, but I'm gonna explain why I don't have it higher. But this is where I'm gonna put Face the Heat. I think Alien Nation is, for me, the best song on the album. And I think the problem for me is that I don't know if that was a late addition to the album. I mean, I'll never know unless I get to interview one of these guys some days. But this seems like a heavier hard rock type of thing that was kind of happening with a lot of the guys in 92 and 93 with, Dog Eat Dog and Kiss Revenge. Like, I feel like Alien Nation is right on par with that heavy stuff. But then I feel like we've lost it. It comes back a little bit, but it's not consistent. You know what I mean? That kind of sound, like that heavier, updated Scorpion sound, doesn't continue through the album. I mean, No Pain, No Gain, freaking awesome. Love that song. Ship of Fools is a great song. And honestly, I used to hate Under the Same Sun. I was like, this is a stupid ass Wind of Change wannabe, like when it came out. But to go back, I'd rather listen to Under the Same Sun than Wind of Change. Under the Same Sun has like a Beatlesy thing going on, and it's just cool. I actually really like that. I like the verses. They actually sound a little bit more contemporary, more modern. But this is just. But then as it gets going, it's like it's hit or miss. Shit like Woman, come on, man, no. That song's so boring and agonizing. So, you know what I mean? So it's just hit or miss. Certain songs are really cool, but then they lose me like on the next song. So it's just not a consistent effort, and they're known for like consistent efforts. So but like I said, I think if we could have had more Alien Nation, less Woman, there we go. We got it.
Dude, I'll agree with you on Woman and Under the Same Sun. I like those two songs. I like that song in exchange for Wind of Change, and the song Woman has never been my go-to.
No.
That's definitely my least favorite on that album.
Hey, but you know what I'll say, though? I'll give the Scorpions props, man. If I had a huge hit with Wind of Change, you bet your ass I'd be writing Wind of Change Part 2 for the next album. You bet your ass I'd be. You know what I mean? So I can't fault them.
Why not?
What's your 6?
Number 6, I got Worldwide Live. This album is one of the big ones for me. If it weren't a live album, I'd have it like as number 1. That's how much I love this album. That's how kind of influential it was for me. I don't know why. I know I bought the actual vinyl album, so it was a double album, and they had like really cool artwork and a nice like big spread inside, and all the pictures were really cool. And then somehow scored the home video, and it was just like, oh man, this was just it. But yeah, everything, the set list is killer. They played the coolest venues at just like this peak party killer time in San Diego, California in the summertime. They were at the top of their game, and it was just like, dude, I could only imagine the party going on in that arena. It was just perfect timing. But Big City Nights live on this album, and especially the video, is just like a 12 out of 10 for me. Like when Matthias is swinging his guitar left and right on each drum hit during the post solo chorus with just Klaus doing it. It is so good. He's feeling it so hard. So I think this is one of the best live albums. And like I said, if it wasn't live, I would have it way higher.
Yep. No, it's iconic, and it's kind of like their Kiss Alive or something like that. It's an album that a lot of people, it was a gateway, they gravitate to it. Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah.
All right, this was going to confuse a lot of people. I don't care. I'm standing by my word here. number 6 is where I got to put Love at First Sting. And I just got to be honest, I think the problem is that like the local radio station that we had here, it just killed this album. Like they played it to death. Rock You Like a Hurricane, Big City Nights, Still Loving You. Like they killed it for me. Like they played that shit 24/7, and now I don't want to hear those songs anymore. And they're great songs, great production. I mean, everything's working here. But I think that's the biggest problem, is that I think it just got overplayed, in the area that, at least where I live, and it's probably happened to a lot of other people. But one song that I want to mention, and this is where, if you look at these 79 to maybe even 88, definitely to this album, is Scorpions are always going to throw some oddball thing on here to mess with you. Like, what the hell is this? And Crossfire is the example of that song. Crossfire reminds me of like Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2 or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a metal band doing like a more, I don't know, like it's like a militant drum beat, and it's just an oddball song, but it's got really good melodies too. So like Scorpions were just like, they were really creative and kind of off the beaten path in certain spots with songs, and I like that. You know what I mean? And that's why I'll give a song like Crossfire a lot of credit. But you go to Crazy World and you find me something like Crossfire, or Is There Anybody There? You ain't going to find it. It's just not there. So, they, like I said, they got a little bit sterilized as they kept going. But Love at First Sting, like I said, I understand it's a great album. I understand it's a huge album. It's just, I think it's just so played out for me that I just can't go back and listen to it very often. So
I agree with the Crossfire thing. That's other than that, this album was much higher for me. Rock You Like a Hurricane, I love, but I don't, like, if it comes on Hair Nation on XM or something like that, I'll see what's on Ozzy's Boneyard real quick, just because I've heard it so many times. So yeah, I'm right there with you on Crossfire.
Yeah, great tune. What do you got for 5?
5, I got Crazy World. So this is the end of the original Scorpions era, the band, if you will. They kind of needed that hit to remain relevant, and then, when the change came, we talked about that. You got Teasy Pleasy, Simple Tongue-in-Cheek, Greatness, whatever.
Yep.
I really love the Kicks After 6 chorus, with Klaus just kind of letting it rip. Yeah. I love that.
Oh, what he's like Robert Plant type stuff? Yeah.
Exactly. That was perfect, dude. So I love that, but I love how they kick into Don't Believe. The kick into Don't Believe Her is money. Send Me an Angel is about as light as it gets for like a heavy metal band, a hard rock band doing a ballad, but it works for them. I actually like Send Me an Angel more than Wind to Change, but I understand why Wind to Change was.
That song's kind of interesting. That's a little bit kind of off the wall compared to the rest of the album. So maybe they were trying a little bit on that one, because that's different. I'll give them credit for that one. You're right. That one's a little different.
Yeah, but it was like, dude, I mean, that was almost like a Richard Marx song or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was freaking light. Like, that was light. That was like, Wind to Change is light. Ballads are ballads, but like, that was some light stuff. But I mean, they pulled it off well, but whatever. So anyway, there's a couple hits. Like, it's got some, like, it's kind of like the girls of the Scorpions collection to me, because there were those couple hits that saved it.
Yeah.
And the rest is good, but not great. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, I know some people love Girls, and I like it, but it's like, really, they had 2 huge hits that saved that album, just kind of like this one. Just in that way, it's similar. But yeah, that's it for me for that one.
Number 5, man, I got. Unbreakable. I love Unbreakable. And I feel like this was the one where they finally got like what I liked about them, but modernized it a little bit and brought it back. You know what I mean? The best song for me is Can You Feel It? It's so good. It's such a big-ass sing-along song. Just what you want from the Scorpions. Deep and Dark is kind of a weird title. Like, what are we talking about, guys? But it's real catchy, and it's really moody and cool. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. once again, we're falling into that kind of cliche shit. Everybody's got a song called "Love 'Em and Leave 'Em" and "Teasing and Pleasing" and all that stuff. But it's a cool song. "Blood Too Hot" is real fast, and just a lot of that old school stuff that I love about the Scorpions. I felt was coming back, and I just saw a post from James Kotak, and he said that I don't know if maybe it's not the anniversary of it, but he just kind of put it out there that that was one of the albums he played on. He helped write a lot of the music. He's really proud of that album, and he should be, because that's a really kick-ass album.
Yeah, I dig it. I bought the actual CD, like the rest of these guys' collection, but I think we talked about it on one of the 2000s shows. But yeah, I really like it too. It's solid. It's got a cool album cover. It's kind of like got some texture to it, if I recall. But yeah. I'm right there with you on all those songs. I think it's a really cool album.
Number 4.
Number 4, I got Savage Amusement on this one.
So, nice. You rated it high.
Yeah, dude, I love this album. It's killer. I think it's highly debated just because they were coming off of a huge album, and they were more of a leather-looking band at the time, and then 4 years later they came out with this thing. But yeah, I mean, the image, the songs, the length of time between releases, the Monsters of Rock tour, like it was all like highly debated stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I dig the crap out of this album, but like the hits are killer too. That's the thing is like the Don't Stop at the Top, Passion Rules the Game, Rhythm of Love, Believe in Love. Like those are all the singles and the hits, and I still crank them, dude. Yep. Like I got no problem with the hits. Love Walking on the Edge and Media Overkill, and I just think it's a solid effort and true to the times. I think I'm right there with you, dude. I think that this album is great, and it was a really cool follow-up, and it was right where they needed to be. And yeah, if people wanted to turn their nose up to it because of the a little bit lighter image, then they're lost.
You made a great point, and I haven't thought much about this. I'm glad that you brought it up, was that it was a really long time between Love at First Sting and Savage Amusement, because that's unheard of in the 80s, especially when a band's hot. So I get they did Worldwide Live, they did a lot of touring and stuff, but man, they really probably should have had an album out in like 87 at least.
Yeah.
And that may have helped the situation a little bit, or I don't know, but I just feel like, yeah, they definitely waited way too long. And you know what happened is that it was such an influential time where everything was so big, and young kids were just getting into this by year, you know what I mean? So if you got into hard rock and stuff in like 86, like Scorpions weren't even on your radar, you know what I mean? So, well, like all the other bands were like, it was like every year or every 2 years. So I kind of think that was a miss on their part to not keep it flowing, because let's face it, once after Crazy World, for them, it was commercially, it was over. So
yeah, exactly. It would have been sweet to see them coming out with something in '86, but maybe they were just riding high off the success of Love at First Sting and Worldwide Live and just said screw it. Yeah. But I know there were some issues with getting this album out, and it was going to be called Passion Ruler, I think, at one point. So I don't know. There was some stuff that went on with this album, but it turned out pretty damn good in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be talking about it. All right. Number 4 is where I put Blackout. I think this album's solid. You know, it's not one of my faves, but I really do like it. I mean, the title track is amazing. Freaking dynamite. Can't Live Without You. I think, this album would be a prime example. I mean, they're all examples of this, but I think Klaus really shines on something, Can't Live Without You and all this stuff. His voice just sounds so good. He's really getting up high on a lot of these tracks. And the little oddball track, deep track that you just got to give props to is Arizona. That's like one of those big 80s summer song type of things. The only problem is that it's really missing that big payoff chorus. Like, I feel like it should have a bigger, more important chorus, but the verses, that's total like stuff we've talked about on the podcast before, about those fun summer 80s songs, and this is, definitely one of those, Arizona. If people don't know Arizona, go back and listen.
Oh, yeah. The ooh, the oohs in this song, they make it.
All right, man. Number 3, we're getting right down to the wire here.
Oh, well, very convenient. I got Blackout at number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you covered a lot of it, but, I mean, yeah, what can I say? There's not a bad song on the album. They really turned it up. They turned up the 80's feel on this album, really. This is when they really started, in my opinion, that whole feel. But, yeah, dude, Can't Live Without You might be my number one on this album. That intro and the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the dude, especially live, it's killer. But the song Blackout kills in the studio and live. And that, so there's a couple songs that in our genre and in this era of music that start off with either like the solo or the chorus riff, and No One Like You is one of those. And if you think about it, some of the best songs out there, like Europe, Let the Good Times Rock, and Dokken Just Got Lucky, and then of course this one, No One Like You. Think about those songs that they kick off with this solo, but it also doubles as the chorus. And it works so well when they kick a song off like that, when it's modeled that way. But yeah, pay attention to those songs out there. Just Let the Good Times Rock, Just Got Lucky, No One Like You. Yep. They're all such good melodic hard rock songs, and they all have that same recipe, and it works really well. So I'm loving this album.
Yeah, you make a good point. We're not. I haven't done it enough as to mention, Matthias and Rudolph with those lead. If it, whether it be dual leads or somebody's playing the rhythm line and then they're playing that melodic lead in the beginning of the songs. But like that's really iconic Scorpion stuff. Like No One Like You, and like I said, it's not a bunch of jibble jambled notes. It's very calculated and it goes to the melody of the song, and it's really good stuff. So yeah, props to those guys.
Yeah.
And the riffs.
Yeah, good.
Come on. Scorpion's got ridiculous riffs, too.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 is where I place Love Drive. I love this album. I guess I didn't realize. Maybe I knew, but I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't realize how much I love this album, and I think like every song is good, And this is like the first Polygram album that they did, and for me, this is where Scorpions start. I say you take this album and you go to Savage Amusement, and you've got one of the best runs of albums by any rock band, in my opinion. Real consistent, real solid stuff. But yeah, man, you mentioned a lot of the songs that I like. Loving You Sunday Morning. What a vibe, you know what I mean? It's just it's kind of like, it's heavy, but it's laid back. I can't even explain it, you know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like Easy on a Sunday Morning or Easy by Commodores, but like a metal version, it's chill, it's cool. Holiday's so good.
And
Holiday.
That live too is killer.
Yeah, but Holiday, like, and another one's going to come up that I'll talk about in a second, but like, to me, like, when they do some of that slow stuff, I don't want to sound like cheesy, but I am cheesy, but it's almost like mystical or something. It's just got a weird vibe. Like Holiday, when they do some of that stuff, it's just an odd vibe. It's not like some cheesy ballad or something. It's kind of like, it's like Zeppelinish, like mystical or something's going on there. Like it's got a cool vibe to it. Another Piece of Meat. Come on. That's so, and like I said, so heavy for 79.
I know.
And you mentioned Can't Get Enough. And then, dude, I don't know. I wasn't picking up on if you were down with it or not, but when Is Anybody There pops on, it messes with you, but it's so good. Like, dude, why are you doing reggae? What freaking Scorpions? You German guys are doing reggae? Well, it works. It's kind of like when the Police do it. The Police integrate reggae into their music. They're just guys from the UK. So, just really eclectic in spots, but every song is good. I can listen to the whole damn thing, and it's not very long. I think that was the charm of like these early albums. There wasn't a ton of songs, but every song was good. So instead of having a bunch of fluff, you've got good stuff there. So
yeah, imagine knowing every song on the album, unlike anyone these days. You know what I mean? Like I'm right there with you. If a band could pull off reggae, they're doing something right. They're pretty damn talented, but I think like the order of which I got into the Scorpions was like, Best of Rockers and Ballads or something like that. So I had a little taste of all the albums. And then I got Worldwide Live, and I was like, whoa, Loving You Sunday Morning is so killer. And it's like more killer live than it is on the album. So, yeah, dude, this is, like I said, when I talked about it, almost every song on this album they play live still, which is cool.
And thanks for mentioning best of rockers and ballads because I can't explain. Great song, great cover by the Who. I love it. It's way better than the Who. It's way better than the Who in my book.
Oh yeah, way better.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, yeah. So this is where I got Face the Heat.
Wow.
Hi. Yeah, dude, it is. This was my number 1 in our '93 podcast, and this actually ends my Scorps era for me because I did want to incorporate Crazy World and Face the Heat, but it does begin with Love Drive, so I'm right there with you. So, I mean, it's just a killer time for this band. They got their updated sound. They got a few more band members. I think it's just a kind of a cool vibe, more or less, on this album. They utilize technology, this and that. So, anyway, I think it's super consistent. I think it's, well, okay, so to this day, it's probably still like my most familiar Scorpions album because I had the CD, like kind of right when I was getting into Scorps, and it was actually pretty much like a brand new album when I first got into them, and I cranked it so through and through that I really got to love these huge hooks, like Someone to Touch, Hate to Be Nice, Nightmare Avenue, Alien Nation with a huge guitar, No Pain, No Gain with the even bigger guitar. It's just, I think it's just Scorpions utilizing the times and being huge, and I thought it was just a perfect hard rock coming back to hard rock Scorpions album, and they went back to a little bit of the leather feel. So I love this album, dude. I'll always preach it.
All right, number 2. Animal Magnetism. I love it. I can't help it. My biggest problem is it's the most messed up album cover ever. I don't even want to know what it means. I don't want to know. It's stupid. Dude, no. It's weird. A lot of these European bands they had some weird friggin' album covers in the early 80s, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I do think where you were saying you thought it went kind of backwards to 70s, I feel like in spots it's ahead of its time. You know, like I said, I feel like Falling in Love is like something that a lot of bands copped in the hair metal days of the late 80s. But Don't Make No Promises Your Body Can't Keep. Like I said, it's like almost reminds me of like the partner to Another Piece of Meat. But I really dig that song. Lady Starlight, another one of those oddball, mystical, slow tunes or whatever. I just love every song's good. I mean, then you got the Zoo on there, of course. 20th Century Man. It's just a lot of cool, catchy, fun stuff, man. It's a great album, and I love it.
Yeah, dude, I think I'll get more and more into it as the years go on, but I definitely, for some reason, kind of, started Love Drive and kind of skipped this one, so I'll get more into it as the years go on, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I already know what your number 1 is, so let's hear it.
Well, I had to throw it on this. I love it first thing. Yeah, this is any album with I'm Leaving You and Big City Nights is probably going to be my number 1. I cannot escape those two songs for sure. Coming Home, Bad Boys Running Wild. These are songs that are Scorpions staples to me. And I'm Leaving You, it's definitely in my top 3 Scorpions songs of all time. So this is just one of those nearly perfect albums in my mind. So I got it at number 1. It is fairly cliche because it is their kind of biggest, most memorable album with Rock You Like a Hurricane. But I'm not even, it's the You Shook Me All Night Long of the Scorpions for me. I've heard it. I've heard it enough. I like it, of course, just like Shook Me All Night Long. But I've heard it enough, and the rest of these songs are so damn good that I just I got it at number 1, and I'm proud of it.
Nice. Well, everybody can tell what my number 1 is. Savage Amusement. And you I think you've mentioned all the songs that I really like too, but Media Overkill, that's probably my favorite song with that weird distorted bass and everything. It's so good. Passion Rules the Game, definitely the best single on the album. Walking on the Edge, that's one of those sleeper tracks. Not a lot of people know that song, but that song is so good. Of course, Don't Stop at the Top. But every song is good, man. Even Believe in Love is cool. That was actually kind of right on par with Wind of Change. It just never really connected with the audience or whatever. Weird to think that this was, like I said, I wrote this down, but we already talked about it. But weird to think that this is their only late 80s offering because, like I said, with people pumping out albums every year, every couple years, it's kind of weird to think that, from between 86 and 89, this is it. But and then the one thing I'd like to mention and connect it to another podcast we did about worst looks. This is the last time we get to see Klaus's weird bald long hairdo because pretty much I think you see it in Rhythm of Love, but I don't think you ever see it again after Rhythm of Love. I think in the videos he's always he brought the cap on board for this album. So so this is the last time you get to see that sweet do that he's got. Which I can't talk because mine would probably look about the same if I grew mine out right now. But it's a great album. And we made a lot of cool points when you talked about it. So like I said, a lot of people I think they're listening to it with their eyes, like the cover looks and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's right on par with all the classics in my book. So
that is classic, dude. I love it, and that I love the Klaus reference, dude. But what, dude? Okay, Believe in Love. And what was the other one? Walking on the Edge, or what was the one I referenced, or you referenced to? Yeah, Walking on the Edge.
Yeah.
Dude, that chorus is so huge
it's
and
huge.
killer the way it goes on and on. It's so killer. Like, I don't know how they didn't have 10 singles. You know what I mean?
know.
Like, these are all great songs. And Media Overkill, it's so weird and killer the way it starts off. Like, yeah. Anyway, I think I probably would have switched it up if I were to do my list right now. It might be higher, especially because it's the last time I get to see Klaus's killer hairline.
Let's throw a couple random thoughts about Scorpions. I just want to get your take on this because when I was mowing my lawn today and I was thinking about us doing this, I was just trying to I listened to some Scorpions and I was getting some ideas. One thing, it doesn't bother me, but I think it might bother some people. Let's face it, Klaus has an accent. You know what I mean? I've missed you since I've been a wee. He's trying to say away, but he says a wee. So some people don't care for the accents in music. I've seen it online. I've seen people saying they can't get into Scorpions because of the accent. Now, I don't think the accent is that hard to deal with. It's there. If you really listen to it, it's there. But I mean, he's such a great singer. It's like, who cares? Another band, and I think that's the charm of the Scorpions. Another band that falls into this, as we've talked about a lot, is Loudness. Loudness's original singer has an accent. And I feel there's a lot of ties between the Scorpions and Loudness. Like if you listen to a song called Like Hell off of Thunder in the East, that's a total Scorpion song. So I'm sure they're Scorpions fans. The problem with Loudness is that I think the accent was so predominant that it did turn certain people off. To me, that's the charm of the band. You know what I mean? Although, hey, let's not get off topic, but I like Loudness with Mike Vicera the best. But anyways, if you really go back and you listen to the original Loudness albums and you listen to the Scorpions, this is what makes it interesting. Even like Udo, as much as you're not super into Udo, that's kind of that's the charm of that band. That there is something about these characters. And if they have accents or if they don't or whatever it is. But I feel like that's kind of what makes them who they are. If you put in Don Dokken into the Scorpions, I don't think it's going to feel right. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the same. That's a pretty, unique band. And I think really if you think of that lineup that was, Rudolph, Matthias, Klaus, Herman Rarebell, and Francis Butchall. Is it Francis Butchall? Right? Yeah. That's the quintessential lineup of the Scorpions, and as you see, that's the best output created by the Scorpions for the most part is from that lineup. So that's just my random Scorpion thoughts. What, you got anything you want to throw out there?
Oh yeah, dude, I could not agree more, and I'm not just fluffing you because you're the guy here. I'm just telling you, like when you were talking about the accent thing, the first band that came to mind was Loudness, and I think it's awesome. It's endearing. It's cool. I think that's what makes the band. Yeah. Like, that, you could tell, like, obviously, EZO and Loudness, like, they have a very distinct accent when they sing, and it doesn't bother me any. I think it fits them perfect. And, dude, like, when you got Klaus yelling at the crowd, hello, California, how you doing tonight? It's like,
it's awesome.
Dude, it's perfect. It's killer. It's like, oh, yeah, dude, these guys, and we've talked about the accent thing before with the Scorps, how it really wasn't really there in their heyday and, like, up to Face the Heat. And then everything beyond Face the Heat, all of a sudden you could tell, like, hardcore that he was German. And you're like, oh, it's a German band. And it was like, prior to that, they really Americanized the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dude, for people to not be down because they got an accent is pretty dumb. Like, even listen to XYZ, like, he's got a French accent, and you can kind of tell in some of the words that he says, It's like, dude, that's what makes the band kind of got their unique style.
Well, I'd say if these people don't like it, we'll send them to diversity training. That's a big thing that I always got to. Everybody has to deal with at work, man. Hey, diversity, baby.
Exactly. But I do have two honorable mention songs only, and I couldn't incorporate them because I don't know if you remember the song "Over the Top." It was on Deadly Sting, the Mercury Years compilation. Remember that song?
No, I do not.
Oh, dude. Check it out. It's a little bit similar to like a Wild Child, really.
Okay.
But I remember it being on the radio a lot. It was a compilation, a double disc compilation that came out, I think, 97. And they came out with 2 new songs. So check out the song Over the Top. Very good. And then I had I Can't Explain on there. But that's the only 2 honorable mentions.
One honorable mention song I'd like to throw out there is, I might not exactly be saying the title of the song, or I think I am. I think it's called Moment of Glory. You know what song I'm talking about? It's almost like an original song they did with the orchestra. That's really cool. And honestly, the stuff that they did with the orchestra is really good too. Like they do Rock You Like a Hurricane with the orchestra. Sounds really good. And I thought that Moment of Glory song was great. I need to get back to figuring out. I know they did a symphony album, kind of like everybody did, like Kiss and Metallica, and whatever. But yeah, I got to get more familiar with that album because between that original song and then the song and Rock You Like a Hurricane, I like what they did. So I gotta go back to that. But yeah, man. And then pretty funny. Neither of us had any of the early Scorpion albums. It's just I can't get into them, man. And probably like guys that are older than us are saying like what the hell, but like everybody swears by like Virgin Killer and all this stuff. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't register with my ears for some reason.
No, me either. And I even figured I'd get some flack for the number 10 Animal Magnetism, and then like there's going to be a lot of guys that are going, oh, 70s Scorpions is way better.
Oh yeah, yep, for sure. Well, man, we done good. We put together a good list. Pretty similar. I think we had pretty much all the same albums except for maybe the what's it called? Pure Instinct with the friggin' naked people.
Oh yeah, that's
with
the
animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, at least they were true to having another messed up album cover, right?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. They're like a bald dude and like a naked bald dude and a chick and like some animals. Yeah, that is that's throwing me off too now.
All right, man.
Thanks.
All right, bro. Have a good night. Thanks.
Cause we can get around. Things that do look awful cold. Hope I die before I get old.